August 2018, 2:13 a.m., Certino. Inside Apple's secure network, a silent red light pulses to life. Unauthorized access detected. The source doesn't trace to Russia, not to Beijing, but to a quiet suburb east of Melbourne. A 16-year-old student is inside Apple's digital vault, live, pulling proprietary code used by half the planet. For 90 gigabytes, the world's most valuable company is being robbed by a kid in a hoodie, and nobody at Apple knows yet. But the alert that just fired in California will wake agencies before sunrise in Australia. Because this isn't customer data. This is Apple's blueprint for itself. And it's already leaving the building, one encrypted packet at a time. The story of the Apple Vault breach doesn't begin with chaos. It begins with curiosity, escalating into obsession, and ending in a realization that strength often collapses quietly, not loudly. To his neighbors, he's a quiet kid obsessed with coding. To Apple, he is about to become the biggest internal security incident since the iCloud fallout. He spends nights buried in anonymous developer forums, scraping fragments of Apple's digital skeleton, leaked subdomains, forgotten contractor metadata, Jira screenshots, compressed logs posted by careless engineers. Crumbs nobody expects anyone to collect. By mid-2017, he finds something bigger than curiosity. Apple's remote authentication gateway, the system engineers use when they're thousands of miles away from Cupertino, but still need to touch the core of Apple's universe. The gateway refuses him, but it leaks a hint, a single path reference, a quiet whisper of how the internal world is structured. It's like seeing the shadow of a locked door and realizing not just that it exists, but exactly where the hinges might be. And suddenly, curiosity is no longer curiosity, it's focus. He builds a mirror of Apple's world from scraps. Every week he adds another layer. He scripts, he crawls, he maps. Not by breaking anything, but by understanding it better than anyone outside Apple ever should. Then comes the mistake. A third-party vendor leaves a development credential sitting in a public space, buried in code no one was supposed to see. Maybe expired, maybe useless, or maybe still trusted by systems that assume everyone holding this key is family. He tries it once. Silence. Then access. Not a single terminal, not a single sandbox, but clusters, networks, machines named with quiet confidence by the people who built them. And the view inside is breathtaking. Internal tools, prototypes, device security folders, repositories labeled as if they were never meant to be read by outsiders. He begins with restraint, 1 gigabyte, then 5, then 20. Each packet disguised as normal internal behavior. No alarms, no blinking sirens, no chase scene, just trust. Trust that the credential belongs to who it claims to belong to. Weeks go by. He builds automation. The theft blends into routine corporate noise. While the world sleeps, one teenage student quietly holds Apple's crown jewels under his bed, convinced nobody will ever know. And in those slow, silent nights, he believes he has mastered not just a system, but an entire world. August 2018. A pattern finally trips a wire. Splunk dashboards whisper before they scream. A credential behaves like an engineer, but not quite. Wrong geolocation rhythm, wrong routing tone, wrong breathing pattern in the data. Then security sees the number, 90 gigabytes. Priority 1, intellectual property exfiltration. A war room forms inside Apple. Monitors glow. Teams cross continents in minutes. This isn't panic, this is surgical focus. FBI. Australian Federal Police. Jurisdiction threads weave together. While the boy laughs in school, answers exams, sends memes to friends, a multinational cyber task force follows digital footprints across oceans. His anonymization holds until one careless detail collapses everything. He never disabled iCloud Sync. The same Mac that forged keys and tunneled traffic backed itself into Apple's cloud. Apple identifies the hardware. It leads to a purchase, a timestamp, a store, a family. Suddenly, the breach isn't a ghost anymore. It has a kitchen table. It has a bedroom. It has a name the world will never publicly hear. Before dawn, a black SUV rolls down a quiet Australian street. Agents knock. The door opens. He freezes mid-keystroke. On his screen, a living connection to Apple's world. Under his bed, drives labeled Apple Vault Backup. He doesn't run. He doesn't deny. He simply explains something painfully human. He loved Apple. He wanted to be part of it. He wanted to see how the greatest technology machine on Earth worked from the inside. And somehow, he actually did. For Apple's engineers, the deeper horror is the realization that nothing broke. No malware, no exotic exploit, no cinematic Hollywood hack. The system trusted him because he behaved like someone who belonged. The breach wasn't force. It was flawless imitation. And that kind of breach breaks confidence quietly, long after the machines are secure again. The response is massive. Credentials rotate across 100,000 endpoints. Signing chains are rebuilt. Architecture gets redesigned while executives pray nobody ever learns how close the world came to something far worse. Because buried inside those stolen folders were pieces of Apple's identity. Keys, tools, instructions that tell millions of devices what to trust. If those were ever weaponized, malware could wear Apple's clothing. Fake could look real. Chaos could look official. Apple never confirms the full list of what was taken. They simply rebuild trust, at a cost measured not just in dollars, but in sleepless engineers and silent boardroom fear. Courtrooms replace war rooms. The judge calls him extraordinarily gifted. Prosecutors call him catastrophically reckless. He is sentenced as a juvenile. No prison, but a warning spoken like a quiet thunderclap. Had this happened under different laws, the rest of his life could have been written in concrete. And just when Apple starts breathing again, forensic logs whisper something worse. After his arrest, someone else used similar keys. A ghost riding the echo of his breach. Maybe he shared them. Maybe someone watched him. Maybe the doors he opened stayed open just long enough for another shadow to slip through. The world never gets an answer. Apple quietly rebuilds authentication from the ground up. The boy disappears from headlines, but the lesson refuses to fade. Inside security circles, this story becomes more than a breach. It becomes a reminder that the strongest castle can still fall if one guard forgets to lock one door. Companies redesign policies, engineers rethink trust. And quietly, far from headlines, people begin to understand that security is never a product, never a finished system, only a fragile promise that must be guarded every single day. And so the story settles into legend, not with drama, not with noise, but with a quiet question left behind like a fingerprint. If a teenager can walk calmly into Apple's vault, who is already standing inside yours?